I am Rebecca Kimbel. Today I'm asking you to join me in taking a very firm stand against the number one fastest growing crime in the entire world: child trafficking. 100,000 American children are sold on the sex slave market every year here in the United States. The average age is between 12 and 14. 14,500 foreign-born children are sold as sex slaves in the United States every single year. The United States of America has become the number one destination to have sex with children. We have a very weak law. If the perpetrators get caught, it's only 3 to 8 years. And we all know very few of them ever serve that time out, even when they're caught. We need to get signatures on an initiative. We need your signatures by March 1st in order to change this law and to get it on the initiative for voting. America, please respond. Protect our children. I personally feel very strongly about this because I am a survivor of that very history. I survived a violent rape when I was only a skinny little 11-year-old girl trying to defend myself against a 48-year-old man. My body shows the scars of it today. I have nerve damage on my mouth. You can see when I speak that only part of my lip moves correctly. I have spinal damage that will be with me for the rest of my life. And I have scars as I fought, but I couldn't win. But I survived. Please realize that child trafficking goes on in many forms. In my case, it was in a fundamentalist polygamist cult hidden in the name of religion. We have got to protect our children. We have got to protect our rights. If we have one segment that has no rights, guess what? It won't be long until you're next. Take a stand. Stand up and protect our rights. This is America, allegedly land of the free and home of the brave. Americans, stand up, speak out, and take back the liberties that you're guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States. Protect our children, all of them. Please respond and take a strong, strong position that this shall not happen on American soil. Our guest today is Daphne Phung. She is with us to tell us about her work in California Against Slavery. Daphne, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm Daphne Phung, and I am the Executive Director of California Against Slavery. And what we're trying to do right now is to put an initiative on the ballot in November, which will go after human traffickers as well as online predators. It's called the CASE Act, Californians Against Sexual Exploitation. The CASE Act will strengthen our laws against human traffickers as well as online predators by doing a number of things.
Our laws are really lax right now, aren't they? They don't have much punishment for this behavior.
Well, the current penalty for human trafficking in California is 3 to 8 years in prison right now, which is actually less than any other related crimes in the same law book. And we're definitely much more relaxed. Our laws are much more lax compared to the federal law as well as in other states.
Also, this crime is increasing, isn't it?
Yes, this is the U.S. State Department said that this is the fastest growing and the second largest criminal industry in the world. And as we talk to law enforcement throughout the state, they are all telling us that gang members are moving from selling drugs to selling people because the risk is less and the profits are high.
Also, a person can be sold over and over and over again.
Correct.
And the profits are extremely high, but the lives involved are really destroyed, aren't they?
Yes, exactly. And because exactly, when you sell drugs, you have to, once you sell it once, it's gone. But when you sell a girl, she comes back to you every night. And there's always most girls have a quota that they have to meet, and they can't go back home to their pimp unless they meet that quota.
The trafficking in California is exceptionally high. It's one of the highest in the United States, isn't it?
Well, California has been named a hub for human trafficking. The FBI identified 13 high-intensity child prostitution areas in this nation, and 3 of those 13 high-intensity prostitution for children in this nation are in California. They are Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco.
San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego.
Correct.
And it is very high. And we have a lot of missing children every year, don't we?
Yes, and the statistics I've heard is that within 48 hours of a girl running away, she will be approached by at least one pimp.
That's pretty terrifying. Pimps are glorified in all of the movies. It's a big deal to be a pimp in the movies. A lot of bling, a lot of power. How does that affect our children?
Well, let me give you an example. We have one of our volunteers, her name is Vicky Zito, and her daughter was kidnapped from their suburb home, and she was sold on Craigslist. In the 8 days that she was missing, this pimp basically was selling her for rape. And when they finally caught the person, they realized that he was actually he's from a very well-established family in the community. And the reason he wanted to do this was he wanted to be a pimp. He wants to be a rapper and a pimp, and he thought that was the way that you do things if you want to be a rapper.
One of the very sad things is that we portray criminals on television as heroes. Criminals get their moment in the limelight when they get in jail, when they get in the newspaper, and especially when they get on TV.
Yes. One of the things that we're really trying to do with the CASE Act is to put more protection in place for victims. Currently, what I've heard from many prosecutors is that there are more protection for the criminals than there are right now for victims. Criminals have much more rights than the victims do. And we're trying to change that, at least for the trafficking victims.
It's interesting, the criminal, we have to absolutely prove everything about him, and the victim, no matter what the medical reports say, she doesn't have the option of the protection, even though her damage is done.
Yes, and one of the provisions in our initiative says that you cannot use a victim's prior sexual history to discredit the victim's testimony in court. And this has been done before in other states where a victim is portrayed as a slut, and thus they actually excuse the behavior of the pimp because of that. And that's what can happen here in California as well. What we're trying to do is to say, you know, the fact that she was victimized, regardless of what happened to her in the past, you cannot use that against her.
Well, the sad thing about it is it's very difficult for the woman who's smaller and weaker to convince a jury that she beat him up and made him rape her. I mean, our law is insane. It doesn't make a lot of sense. The man can protect himself physically, Of course, she could make the accusation, is what they're saying. She's going to make the accusation. However, if you follow the money trail of what the guy's doing, doesn't that speak?
Well, we're really at an early stage of understanding and prosecuting these cases. Domestic violence, has really, it took many, many years, but we finally get to the point where if the domestic violence case, the victim doesn't have to testify, but as long as there's enough evidence, a state can prosecute the person, right?
Right.
And we have a case here, like with San Francisco, where recently. Now with human trafficking, what's really sad right now is that even when a child is being sold for sex, you have to prove that child was forcibly put into that situation. And if as you said, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of psychological control involved, and our children are most vulnerable to those two things. And of course, they're not willing, and a lot of them don't even see what's happening to them as victimization, as being exploitation.
One of the horrible situations about child trafficking is a lot of the time the child remains in the home where they're sold for sexual activities. And when they're still in that home, they can't testify against the people and then go home and live with them. It's not safe. They can't testify. I'm saying that from my own history.
Oh.
They cannot testify and dare go home, and where are they going to go? Because it's at home, in their home environment, that was basically organized crime, and they were sold or trafficked someplace. You cannot testify if you don't have a safe place to go. And I think that people don't realize that falls over into the outer community, because if the witness is not protected, how do you expect her to testify?
Yes, definitely. Definitely being able to protect the victims is very important in enabling this victim to testify in court. There are cases like yours where it's done through the family, and there are cases where it's done outside the family.
Yes.
But either way, protection for the victim is important, and being able to ensure that there will be services for the victims is also very important.
What are some of the things that we can do to help? What can the public do?
Well, you can go to caseact.org to sign the petition. We need to collect 800,000 signatures to get this on a ballot. So please do so by March 1st. And the second thing is really educate yourself about it and tell your friends and your families about what's going on. One of the most difficult barrier that we have in this issue is that the unawareness. Most people think that this never would happen in my community, in my suburb, in this, in the United States. And we have to do a lot of explaining about that happens here in every city, in every town, and every neighborhood in this country.
Every city, every town, every neighborhood in this country. America, wake up. We have a habit of looking overseas and trying to fix their problems and ignoring what's going on in our own backyard.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is there something you would like to add?
Well, I would say, probably the only thing I would say is, maybe in addition to that is, they can volunteer to help us. In addition to signing the petition, educating yourself, you can also volunteer and make donations to our cause.
And volunteering just to help to get the word out, to help people understand this is happening in our country. In the land of the free and the home of the brave, we have slavery, and this is only one form. Help prevent slavery. Fight for equal rights. This includes equal rights of women and girls. This also includes equal rights of all children, all people, all colors, all races, all nations, all theologies. We better fight for our equal rights. They're slipping. Daphne is working very hard to help keep us free. All of you mothers out there, be aware. This can touch your life. Every woman out there, be aware. This can touch your life. It's touching thousands now. Let's do all we can to stop it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daphne, very much. I appreciate your coming.
I appreciate it.
In the United States, there are 13 major places where sex trafficking is huge. 3 of them are in California. One is San Diego, another Los Angeles, and then San Francisco. Please sign the petition to help us get this on the ballot to stop slavery in California. The website for the ballot is www.casact.org. That's Californians Against Sexual Exploitation Act.org. www.casact.org. Please sign it. Please take a hand in protecting children everywhere. Thank you.
A message from SafeKidsNow.com. Organized neighborhoods provide a safety net for children. Work together. Organized neighbors prevent crime better than the police. Work with all of your neighbors.